Hi everyone, my name is Leah Fletcher. I work at Park University in the Career Development Center. I am the assistant director here, and today we're having Hang with the Professionals, specifically how veterans are becoming their own boss. I'll let the professionals introduce themselves and tell us a little bit background and how long they've been working as an entrepreneur. Do we want to start with Jim?
All right, I'll start. I'm Jim Allen. I'm the old one. I've been an entrepreneur for 35 years, and I am on my fifth startup now. It's called Honor Capital, and we help veterans do grocery stores in American food deserts.
Sean, do you want to go next?
Sure. My name's Sean McIntosh. I spent 13 years in the Navy and relocated here to Kansas City in 2012 and started my own recruiting and staffing agency. I am also the executive director of the Bunker Kansas City, which is a new small business incubator for veteran-led startups. You can go and check out our website at the Bunker KC, and I'm glad to be with you all today.
And my name is Steve Strong with SD Strong Distilling. We're a boutique distillery in Parkville, Missouri, and we started the distillery about 3 years ago. And I guess background-wise, before that, I was a guitar sales guy for almost 18 years. And before that, I actually started up another a repping company in the music industry. So I guess kind of my second startup is what I would say.
Okay, great. So our first question from students is, have you always had a knack for being an entrepreneur, or have you always wanted to be, and how you came about the idea of becoming your own boss?
You want to go in the same order?
Yeah, that would be great.
Okay. No, I did not think I would be an entrepreneur. I failed to mention that I was commissioned as a Navy officer in 1977, honorably discharged in 1977, and my first notion was to go get a job and stay someplace for 30 or 40 years like my father had. So no, it happened to me, I won't say naturally, but from an experience, which I think we're going to talk about later. But I was not a natural entrepreneur.
Okay, okay.
Yeah, I've always wanted to be an entrepreneur, and that's part of the reason why I punched out of the Navy, after 13 years, is I, had ran a FOB in Afghanistan. If there's anyone that's been to Zabul province out there, it's lovely, but I didn't want to go back again. I think, before I ever joined the military, I wanted to be an entrepreneur, and then so when I was getting out, I was lucky enough to find a mentor to help me, and I just went for it.
I would say that I didn't always see myself as being an entrepreneur. Much like Jim, I had got a job with a company and actually worked there for almost 18 years, and kind of had a few events that made me realize that that wasn't what I wanted to do for the rest of my life, and I wanted to have a little bit different change, and that was what led to starting the distillery, really.
Okay. And so some of you have mentioned experiences that have made you want to become an entrepreneur. I know, Jim, you had mentioned. Can you touch a little bit more on those experiences and what they were and how they kind of changed your viewpoint?
Well, I worked for an institution when I got out of the Navy, and for about 3 years. And toward the end of that 3 years, they did an extensive, long review of all of the people that were in my peer group. I think there were about 30 of us, and I was ranked as the #1 employee. Then for about the next 6 weeks, they debated whether or not I would get a raise or a bonus. They concluded I would not, because it would make all the other people mad. So what it did is made me mad. And so I left seeking independence to start my own gig, so to speak.
Okay. And Steve, you also mentioned an experience or experiences that kind of shaped your viewpoint.
Yeah, it's kind of funny. I think Jim and I have a lot in common, really, as far as that goes. One thing that I just always got tired was never really being in control of my income, and it seemed like every time I started things would start going well, then there would be a restructuring of a commission, or there would be just a change, or we would go to a salary and things would change, and it's just such a frustrating thing to not really feel like you're in total control of what you can make and how you can make it, and that there's always I wouldn't say owning your own business that you don't have people to answer to, because you certainly do, and that always happens, but not nearly as directly as when you have someone that you're working for, another company that you're working for. It's just a little bit different, and I didn't like it, and I wanted to do something different so that I could be in more control of that.
Okay, great. So kind of finding independence or be in charge of your future is what led most of you to want to become entrepreneurs.
Yeah, I'd say that's absolutely right. In my case, yes.
Okay, great. So when you became or started out becoming an entrepreneur, or when you started down that journey, can you tell us a little bit about any experiences or hardships you went through, issues you faced, and even as you're helping entrepreneurs, especially veterans, what do they see as issues that come up?
Well, everything I've done has been a startup, as I said, and I'm on my 5th startup. And some of the startups have taken more capital than others. And so I think when you're involved in a startup that requires a lot of capital, currently, particularly in the current times, I think it's very, very hard to find financing for startups right now. So, and the most difficult times we've faced is when we had inadequate capital. We just didn't have enough money to do some things. Now, there have been other times when we had so much money that we made stupid decisions because the answer to a problem was to throw money at it. So I think we're more creative when we don't have a lot of money and have to think outside the box and preserve money. But I think inadequate capital has been what has kept me up the most at nights, and then trying to think where are we going to get the next round of funding is the most difficult part, and particularly right now for a startup, it's very difficult.
Okay.
Yeah, I think one of the greatest challenges that I've had is understanding the sales and business development cycle, and I really feel like just now maybe mastered it. And one of the things I tell transitioning veterans or veteran entrepreneurs is it's honestly kind of a free-for-all. And Jim, you could back me up here. There's really no like matrix out there where you can go and get bids. Like how the government works. It's really, it's good. It's a pro and a con. It's a free-for-all. You as an entrepreneur have the ability to cold call the CEO of a company if you can get in touch with them and win business. You have to have that mentality and understand that that's just kind of how things work, that you have to network, meet people, get introduced to someone else who introduces you to someone else, and then repeat, right? There's no magic silver bullet. You have to just get out there and kind of learn on the job.
Right.
Yeah, and I would underscore that there's a great deal of ambiguity, I think, when you're an entrepreneur. I get amused at people who say they have a perfect plan moving forward. Our plans have always been pretty good on paper, but in reality, sometimes they haven't been so good, and we've had to adapt and change. The other thing that the veterans I'm working with right now are experiencing is a little bit of an ethical gap. Most of them, in what they did in the service, if somebody told them they were going to do something, they tried to do it. My experience on the outside is a lot of people will tell you things, and they either have no intention to do it or they're just directly misleading you. So with my guys, I've had to kind of hold them in check a little bit and say, people tell us things, don't count on it. We better have a backup plan. But ambiguity is something you really had better be able to deal with if you're going to try and be an entrepreneur, at least in my experience.
Okay. And Steve, have you, in your years of experience, gone through any issues or hurdles that you kind of went through, and now looking back, you know how you'd handle them?
Yeah. Well, I wish I could say that there was just, one hurdle. I mean, it seems as though there are, you get over one and then another one, pops up. Certainly, this distillery is been, self-financed, so capital is always an issue. Um, and as you might imagine, there's a lot of stuff that you need for not only starting a distillery, whether it's all the gear. You can see sitting behind me, I have a 200-gallon still, and that gear isn't it's not cheap. And then beyond that, there's just always trying to promote stuff, whether it's advertising or trying to do social media stuff. That's always a constant drain on money that is coming in. And the other thing that I would say that's been hard for me, coming from a sales background for so long, when something would happen, you were used to just taking care of it yourself. You maybe would call somebody else up in the organization for a little bit of help, but typically you did a lot of stuff yourself, and that has been one of my challenges as an entrepreneur is there's a lot of people that want to help you, number one, and we've had a lot of great like even volunteer stuff, but there's also a lot of great people out there that whether it's an accountant or an attorney, don't be afraid to find other people to help. Because there's a lot of things, there's a lot of government regulation in doing a distillery, as you might, think, and there's just a lot of things that I, number one, don't know, and number two, I don't really enjoy, sitting in front of my computer trying to figure out tax forms and filing monthly filings, and so to get that stuff off of my plate and let somebody else handle it that they're not only are they good at it, but most of the time they like it. So that continues to be a problem, because I still feel like I can do everything myself, and that really isn't the case. You just kind of gotta step back and let people that are really good at doing what they do, let them do it.
Right. Okay. Great. And back to you, Jim. You had mentioned financing being an issue. Have you found any theory that works best, how to best reach people for financing or find financing?
No, I wouldn't say that we've found anything. We're in a niche market, and over the course of the last year, we have found things that I didn't know existed. But I think it's what Sean and Steve alluded to earlier. You got to kind of keep kicking around, keep networking. If a hurdle comes up, you need to knock it down or run around it or something. I like to always talk to my guys about the 2 mice and the 2 urns of cream. One fell in, gave up, sunk to the bottom and drowned. The second one flapped around, turned it into butter and walked out. And that's kind of what we want to do. We want to keep trying and flapping around. But we've been very fortunate because we have a social mission to what we're trying to do. We have recently found social impact funds who are aligned mission-wise with us. So we are about ready to open our first store in Columbia, South Carolina in April. And yesterday we got our first financing commitment. So we're pretty excited about that. But we've been working on it for a year. So that gives you an example of how long it takes.
And can you, both Jim and Sean, expand a little bit on how your organizations do work with veterans? You've touched a little bit, but just to help viewers understand what your day-to-day is like or what your big picture is like working with veterans.
Well, Sean's actually doing more than I am. I found a group of basically 9 veterans that either went to school in the military together and or served together in the military. And we brought them all together in one company to tackle a mission that they chose, which was to bring fresh food at affordable prices into American food deserts. So we're right now limited to that group. We hope to expand and be able to help more in the future, but right now we're just trying to establish that company, get a good foundation for it, and then we can help others. So Sean's actually doing more for a larger group than we are.
Yeah, so I'm the director of the Kansas City chapter of the Bunker. We've got 7 chapters opening nationwide in 2015. And our core program is that we provide a 6-month intensive training pipeline where we take a veteran from market validation and the concept stage all the way to where you're pitching angel investors and trying to raise money, for your startup. And the idea is to kind of grow out of our program. We do a lot of peer-to-peer learning and thought leadership. We also bring in mentors and professional consultants to supplement our curriculum. And we basically use what's called MVP methodology. MVP stands for minimum viable product. I highly suggest everybody go out and look at steveblank.com or just Google Steve Blank. Steve Blank was a Vietnam era veteran who has started 5 or 6 different companies. 4 of them, I believe, have had IPOs. He is a guru in the startup community as far as curriculum and current education. You could block off an entire week and just read his website and probably only cover 1/3 of all the content he's generated. Teaches at Stanford Business School. He also has a company called Udacity that provides online educational tools. Anyway, we really help create lean startups that are growing and reinvesting the money they make into hiring more people, hopefully veterans, and creating jobs.
So where are your other 7 offices being opened?
So it's Philadelphia and DC, and then here in the Midwest, Chicago, Kansas City, and Austin. And then we're going to put one into Colorado. We're not sure it's going to be Colorado Springs or Denver or Boulder right now. We're kind of working through that process. And then Los Angeles and Seattle are coming online, over the next 6 to 12 months. And then for 2016, we got some other cities that are perhaps coming online. And we're also going to be providing kind of an online educational resource for veterans that aren't in those cities that still want to do something. So.
Great. And so if a veteran wanted to use your services, what would be the procedure or how would they go about doing that?
We're opening up our application window in April here. They can also just go to our website and email me. And I'm almost full right now as far as the startups I'm helping, but I can keep their information on file or send it to the appropriate resources. We're also kind of a medium for resources here in the Kansas City area, and there's actually a construction incubator here in Kansas City, Missouri, and there's 5 or 6 different co-working facilities and other incubators if the startup is ready for it. So we're also kind of a medium.
Okay, great. And so can you touch a little bit, have you worked with non-veteran and veteran entrepreneurs, or do you have any specific advice for veterans that might be different than a non-veteran?
I think by and large veterans are too humble, and that's sort of the mantra. You're part of a team, you don't take credit for it. And with my folks, at least, they have a hard time promoting themselves, and they really need to promote themselves. So if I were saying one thing, I'd say they're all, and you hate to say that's a criticism, but they're almost too humble.
Yeah, I like what Jim just said. As a veteran entrepreneur, you need to tell your potential clients or your peers, the experiences you've had, because you've had probably amazing leadership and management opportunities in the military, and you need to show that, right? There's times to be a silent professional, and there's times to, be honest with people of what you've done and utilize that to your advantage, because you do make a great entrepreneur. So yeah, I really like what Jim said about not being humble all the time.
Okay. And as far as ideas of new businesses or how to become an entrepreneur, do you have any ideas, or how do you tell individuals that one idea is a good idea and to pursue, or how do they go in that with their mind, thinking through the process, what might be a good idea to pursue and what might not have a population for it?
Well, I'm probably not the best guy to act. We and I have always looked for proven business models, and rather than necessarily a new product, we've had a new technique. For example, when I was a real estate development partner with John Hancock, we were just doing apartments, but we did the first variable rate demand note financing in the nation, which was a mousetrap, a new and better way to finance apartments. So we really haven't, or I haven't focused on products and product ideas. Steve maybe is a better guy to talk about that than I am, but we've focused on, number one, trying to find a problem, and then could we figure out a solution to that problem that was with a different mousetrap, or did we have a skill set that maybe would allow us to do whatever, solve the problem better than somebody else could. I've tried to get my guys to stay on proven business models. I guess I'm just not enough a tech guy to understand.
I mean,
Sean or Steve?
You go ahead, Steve.
Oh, I was just going to say, I can only speak from my experience. As Jim was saying, product or service, I don't think that matters nearly as much as, if you just find something that you're really interested in and that you think you can do it better than other people, or you can bring another take on it, then I think you should do it. But I just, and this was even before starting this company, one of the reasons that I ended up staying with the other company that I had worked for so long was because I loved it. It was guitars, and I part of me didn't want to let that go, and but I wanted to find something that I thought was equally as interesting, and that I could put my own spin on it, and make it fun for other people, and have other people take interest in it. And I think if you love it and you are going, and I know it sounds cliche, but it's really just, for me, it's been the truth. I've been able to get other people interested in it because I am.
Yeah, I think he's absolutely right. I would just say you need to be passionate about what you decide to do.
Yeah, in my opinion, the best way to start is to find a mentor in the industry that you're considering going into, and LinkedIn is a great way to do that. You can get a free premium account with LinkedIn. You can just Google how to do that, and then you can reach out to, I believe, 10 people through their in-mail process, and simply ask them for a 30-minute or 20-minute phone call, and just ask them about their industry. And some people may not respond, but out of 10, you'll probably get 2 of the responses, and ask, try and find other veterans, in your industry. Like they'll probably give you at least a 20, 30-minute phone call. Maybe if they're in your area, they'll agree to be a mentor and meet with you a couple hours per month. Always be respectful of their time and try and meet with them when it's convenient for them. But, one thing that we teach is to try and do market validation by talking to other veterans, in an industry that you're considering getting into. If you're considering a franchise, Google the VetFran program. There's a guy named Kevin Blanchard, who's a former Marine EOD Iraq veteran, that will put you in touch with the right resources. Great asset. Just Google VetFran.
Great.
Yeah, I would definitely echo what Sean just said there. That before I ever started SD Strong Distilling, I visited probably 25 other distilleries, in this industry, both large ones all the way, from Wild Turkey down to people that are even doing stuff that's smaller than what we're doing. And the one thing that I would say, and I don't think it's just this industry, really in any industry, people are pretty open to helping you. I mean, they'll give you some time and they'll give you their honest opinions and feedback. I would, that's one of the things that's been such a pleasant surprise is how open people will be, and they want to help you almost.
Great. Okay, well, we'll kind of wrap it up with, I just want to hear from all three of you. As far as being an entrepreneur, what is one piece of advice you think is probably the most important that you have found?
Same order?
Yeah, that would be great.
Okay, I think you have to make revenues exceed expenses before you exhaust capital. And if you can learn to do that, and those are all imperatives and those are action verbs, you've pretty much got it down. But I think what the others said earlier, you need to find a mentor, you need to go someplace like the bunker, learn how to make revenues, learn how to market, learn how to manage expenses, and then learn how to form capital. And you're probably going to have to start, if you're really a startup, with friends and family. And you may end up with your credit cards maxed out, and I will tell you, my guys have learned the hard way that if you max your credit card, it dings your credit report. Then when you go to a lender, they start talking to you about your credit's lower than it used to be. So you never want to take your credit cards up past 89%. That's my last piece of advice.
Great.
Yeah, my last piece of advice is to, it's my favorite quote, which is, it takes 3 years to become an overnight success. This is a marathon, being an entrepreneur and starting your own business, and not a sprint. But you can have the advantage by, like I said, finding a mentor, doing industry research, talking to 10 different people in an industry you're considering getting into. That's one, misconception, is that, you're going to be competition for them. I've probably visited 10 different incubator and accelerator programs, and they all want to collaborate. You never know. Don't have the mentality that you're a competitor, unless you're going to try and open a Subway, right across from, a Burger King, and you're asking that guy or something. So most of the time, people will give you, some good advice, and then help you out, especially as a vet.
Great.
I guess one of the things that I would say is, a lot of times when you have a new venture or a new idea, a lot of times the world will really tell you, no, this isn't going to work, or you shouldn't do this, and sometimes even people that will give you good advice, that's what they're telling you as well. And but if you're just passionate about it and you believe in it, you've got to go do it. And the other thing that I would say is just start. Don't let it seem so big that it paralyzes you. There definitely are obstacles, but it's things that you can get over. You just have to start is really the main thing.
Well, great. You all three have been extremely helpful and very educational, so I really appreciate you being on the panel.
Thank you.
And if you have anything else to say, you're more than welcome. Otherwise, we will end.
I'm done. Thank you.
All right. Great. Thank you all so much.
.com.
Bye.